Okay, well, should we go ahead and get started?
Sure.
Can you hear us, Judy? Okay. All right, so the Arts and Culture Commission will begin. So it is 6:36. I call the meeting to order. Lisa Ritchie, if you could please take the roll
Yes. Tom Sonnet,
here.
Julie Barrett. Who's absent? Carrie Nadeau. Here. Stacy Maher. Here. Trudy Onsor.
Here.
And Lisa Wong. Here. And myself, Lisa Ritchie, Commission Secretary.
Okay. So we just item that Trudy is attending via Zoom for this one from North Carolina. So we'll adopt the agenda. You know, I was going to reach out to everyone, but just I was trying to pick up from where we left off. But anybody have anything they want to add to the agenda or anything like that, or any issues with what we have on the agenda for tonight? No? Okay, so take a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor of adopting the agenda as is?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the agenda is adopted. The approval.
Then we have to ask.
Oh, we have to
Carrie
ask
or
Trudy separately. Trudy.
Aye.
Aye, okay. Yeah. I didn't get a harum out of that. Okay. Agenda is adopted. So the approval of minutes from the meeting on 11:30. Anybody have any comments or anything you want to say about the minutes? On 11:30? Motion to adopt the minutes as is. So moved. Second.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor of adopting the minutes from 11:30 as is, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Trudy?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we're all good. Meeting open to the public. There's nobody here. Public hearings, we don't have any. Commission business action items. So I thought we could maybe I'll and just reverse these two things. So the one thing was, I thought we could just try and get caught up with where we were. One was kind of talking about what do we hope to try to accomplish this year, at least what's on our docket. Did we write that down somewhere? Like I think we had like, it must be in the minutes. There were like 5 or 6 things that we were going to try and do in 2022.
Someone take a photo on their phone. And I thought it was on the document, was it in our Google Doc or our, not Google document?
Yeah.
It's in the
Spreadsheet.
spreadsheet.
Yeah, it's item 4.3.2 on the smart sheet,
Okay.
draft project list.
Okay, and I'm gonna try to bring that up on this screen here. Type this in. That's a long one.
Huh?
Did you just want the full link? You want me to email it to you? Well, I'm not projecting from my computer. They asked me to project from the room computer, and I don't have email on there. So unfortunately, I have to type all of this. Where am I? Can anybody see if there is a
QQM. Do you want me to read the rest of
J?
it?
Sure.
Lowercase j, lowercase p, capital
P?
V. Yeah, P is in power. Capital V is in Victor, lowercase r,
Okay.
lowercase g, 3, uppercase P is in Pokemon, lowercase c, lowercase m, lowercase h, capital X, lowercase x, capital P, 4, lowercase q, 3, uppercase B is in Victor, 1, question mark, all in lowercase, the word view, VIEW, equal sign, the word grid, GRID. D as in dog.
Good.
Yep.
All right.
Ready for the second half?
Let's do it.
There you go. And that's where you sign in with your email.
Okay.
What did you say, 4.3.2?
The draft project list.
Right. Let's see.
What password do I need to use? Oh.
Two of them are.
Can we use someone
By your
else's?
nice Brandon.
Well,
Does someone else know their login for their email account that's associated with this? I can't. Password I used.
well,
It shouldn't,
we can just, let's, I know you might want to get to the other stuff.
Yeah, if I have it on here.
What if you get got your password?
Right. You want me to do forget my password?
Yeah, you know what, and then in the meantime, if you want to work on that, Lisa, then we can just kind of talk through what's on that list.
Mhm.
Trudy, can you still hear us?
yes,
Okay, so I mean, we have four things, well, let's see, the four first things, so we had the Freedom Rock. And so this one has just seemed to have really, it seems to me like we've kind of taken more of a back seat to this from what I was, if I remember correctly, at first, like Terry thought that we would be heavily involved, and then the other guy, I can't remember, Dan, thought we would not be so involved. So it's more like, it's not like more we would have this kind of consultative role on that, not be so involved.
I was there this morning for this afternoon for their board meeting,
Oh,
and we discussed the Freedom Rock. There is someone by the name Bubba in Iowa.
Yeah.
Who is kind of, has done a lot of these, and so
Yeah.
they're gonna contact him and kind of see how they did it or how other people have done it. The big concern is how do you get a big rock on that?
yeah.
Because they're gonna have to get permits from MinDOT, because it's
Oh.
crossing a bridge, they have to have, that's kind of the big concern, how to get the rock
Sure.
from here.
Yeah.
But once they talk to Bubba,
Yeah.
and Angela is taking the lead of that essentially. I think they've kind of taken a little bit of step back until they get.
Okay. This committee working with Bubba.
Mhm.
So, but I also looked at this the same, well, this doesn't seem to be sort of like a signature arts and culture commission project, you know, it's gonna be more ancillary to the work that we're doing. So, yeah, but I wonder if we maybe just kind of take that one and just set it aside a little bit for now. And then the next one was fire and ice, which is not happening, right? So that one's off the list, at least for this year. So that leaves us with booth at car show and craft wagon for now. So what are people's thoughts about that? It's hard to believe that the car show will be here before you know it. In 4 months. So we would have, potentially 3 more meetings. Well, we would have 3 more meetings, February, March, April. No, we'd have probably 4 meetings before that would start. So anybody have thoughts about what we might want to try and do for a booth at the car show? So we had soliciting ideas, feedback, promotion. Any other ideas on what we might, would we have like activities for children at the car show?
Right.
Craft wagon,
That's a great idea.
and just be like, hey, be on the lookout, maybe we can decide on some dates for the craft wagon and put that, like advertise the dates and where the craft wagon will be, because we're gonna try to collaborate with the parks, putting the art wagon, craft wagon in the parks.
Yep. No, that's a great idea. Have the craft wagon right there.
Yeah,
It's like a car.
and maybe we could get some activity, trying to someone, we could be add in art activities, or just coloring sheets at the very least.
Yeah.
Or sidewalk chalk. Oh my God, I don't know sidewalk chalk.
You're right out the street.
Yep.
It's
Draw cars.
Would we want to consider using the booth dual purpose too, like advertising the craft wagon and soliciting ideas from the public?
that's
Either
what I'm
like, I
thinking,
don't know if there's a big whiteboard or a big piece of paper, like how, I don't know how we would want to solicit those ideas, that's still up for discussion, but I think that's another opportunity.
Yeah.
Right.
Thinking of a giant chalkboard, the chalkboard paint.
Mhm.
I would
Could the craft wagon itself be painted as a project?
I love that.
Carrie, are you taking notes right
Yeah.
into that document? Perfect. And now, and Trudy, I have you up on my computer so I can see it.
Okay.
But yeah, these are great ideas. So we'd have, I was thinking, what if we were to have something? What if you had like a piece of paper, for example, and you said people could, draw or color on it, whatever, and have them put their ideas on that, stick it in a basket or a bucket or something like that. Then we have things just kind of written down permanent that we can carry away with rather than having them like on a board or something.
Right.
But I like the idea too of like doing something right there with the craft wagon. I like it. Does, Lisa Ritchie, did you say you know where that craft wagon is right now?
So, I know that, actually, it might be down at Public Works. I don't know for sure.
That Ron knows.
I bet Ron knows, I can tell him a
Yeah.
Was it Nancy Thorson that,
Yes, she
yeah,
worked it when she was a teenager or something.
yeah.
But it'd be kind of cool to see what condition it's in. Like, does this thing need repairs? I mean, I think that's maybe an action item we need to take away from today is to say, what do we need to do if we want to have this thing ready to go for the car show? Because it's a fantastic idea to have it there at the car show, and then to be able to say, come and see us at Casey Park on these days, and at Silver Lake Park on these days, and at Housing, or whatever. So we're getting all kinds of great ideas here. I bet this N95 is good against the virus because I can hardly breathe.
It's squishing my nostril.
I
But I
have-
like
I
it
have
better
such a
than-
big head. that it's like, I'm stretching it to the limit.
We could potentially also have something for people to vote on. So in addition to kind of free associating their ideas, we might have a few projects that if think there might be interest in, and to see what people would want.
What was that? I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Have like a survey, like to have a project ideas and kind of see where people are at, like what do they gravitate towards. That makes me think about that knocks off a couple of things. Well, not completely knocks them off, but it harkens back to our directional A3 into say, what are some of the key components of this? One of these things is getting feedback from the public.
Mm.
And, that's a great way to get some feedback. So when we think about collaborative representation and, let's see,
Mhm.
yeah, this collaborative representation, that's what that was the one.
And we have those questions at the end of our PowerPoint, right? So we could easily adapt those for a paper survey.
Oh, yeah.
You were talking about the voting, Trudy, and it got, wouldn't it be, okay, elementary school, remember how they had the penny wars? And you would have people drop the pennies in for which activities they wanted to do?
Yes,
Easy fundraiser, and
Yes.
people can vote with their pennies.
yes. So I was going, that's brilliant, Carrie. That's absolutely brilliant. Because it does bring money in and maybe put pictures behind jugs of like 3 projects that the commission has identified interest in. And
Yeah.
the winner, like the next priority is the one that gets the most money.
Right.
Is that allowed?
I have to figure that out. I know it has to be approved by council, but I'm not sure in what way, if that's a method we can. But we'll ask.
Okay. Because I have 2 action items so far. Check location and condition of. What do we call it? The art, Wagon? Craftway. And then check on accepting donation.
And maybe perhaps, Lisa, when we ask council for permission, we can include a slip of, like colored slips of paper that people can pick if they don't want to put money in, so that they still have a voice, so that it's more.
Yeah.
equitable. It doesn't just,
It's not just money. driven.
just
Yeah.
money.
We'll have to put a caveat on it too, like pending council final approval.
Well, we could likely, this is so far out, we could likely have a proposal to council for meeting this
Yeah.
time. But I would like to consider just to try and make apprehension an alternative for additional, so that it's an opportunity for the public to support the commission through funds. It's engaging, but there's also, it's like you don't need to buy to participate type of a thing, like there's an alternative need for participation.
If you don't have coins, you can vote with Venmo. Never had.
Got a question. Is this something that then we would do every time that there's a car show?
I guess I was not thinking of every single person, because I would get really tired, but maybe like once a month, unless we could get volunteers that did it every time. I don't know what you guys.
You mean be at the, Trudy, do you mean have the arts commission, the craft wagon at every car show, or just have the voting thing at every time we're there?
It's an open question. Do we have some kind of a presence at every car show? And then I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but I was wondering, is this a once and done, or is it more often?
I think it's a good question because, it'd be one thing, I think if we were just there as an informational thing, that we certainly would not go every time, that it could be like a once a month. But if we're like providing a service where we're giving kids something to do and adults even, then, you know, I could see it happening as much as we have people available to do it.
Or could we open it up and do a joint arts and parks program?
Sure.
I don't, do they do anything? I haven't been to the
No,
car show in a
not
year.
that I know of.
So I know that in the past, we have had, you know, council and or different commission presence once in the summer.
Yeah.
You know, like what, at one car show, we would be there and hanging out, answering questions or whatever.
Yeah.
Not a lot of traffic.
Sure.
But if you have something that's splashy and colorful and giving people something to do. that would
Right.
help.
As an aside, the History Museum had like an open house while, you know, back when I was in town. And so I stopped by and I talked to them and talked about the Arts Commission. They said, oh, that's cool. We should do things together. And maybe we could do, you know, because they're right on the drag there. Maybe we could have one of these in collaboration with them.
That'd be great.
Let's do Springboard. She's also on park.
Yeah. Sue would be a perfect contact for that.
Sorry, it took so long to get that. Trudy, can you see the spreadsheet?
Yes, I can. It's awesome. It's like magic. There's this little note that says Carrie Nadeau, and then all of a sudden it changes, and everything that we just said shows up there. It's fantastic.
Oh, good. Perfect. Okay, so. 4.2.
Could we partner with like the school too? And, you know, maybe there's just like different people or organizations that we partner with for different.
Yeah, for sure.
different needs.
I go to the right spot here. Oh, yes. Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, for sure.
Well, this is really great. I mean, I think this is a thing that could really help us create a presence.
Mhm.
And it's a sustained thing. Don't think it would be that hard. And I think we could probably get a lot of mileage out of this. There's tons of great ideas floating around on this already.
Right.
So I love the idea of continuing to look at this. And so outside of this, so the four things that we had on our list were, so we had the Freedom Rock, we had Fire and Ice, we had the Craft Wagon, and then we had the car show. Now we've just combined the Craft Wagon and the car show. So this could be a big kind of centerpiece of the year for us. But also, what about, do we want to try and shoot for anything else that's more like a permanent art installation? Do we want to use a lot of the car show, Craft Wagon time to, like as Trudy suggested, gathering some feedback? Like when you look at exceptional engaging artists and ideas, you know, do we want to say, what would you most like to see added around town? Murals, sculpture, snowman statue, electrical box straps, you know, what, all these different things. What, you know, so that we're polling and getting some of that feedback
Right.
while we're working with the residents for a little while before we actually try and implement something? Or do we have some things that are kind of on tap? We're starting to build some the foundations for doing some of these things. Any thoughts on that?
My thought is it could be a both and.
Yeah,
They were getting the feedback, but we're also kind of putting things in place and figuring out our processes and maybe getting started on the, you know, the first stages of different things. Because what we don't want is for everybody to say, okay, we want a snowman. And then it's like a really long time before we can get there.
right. And we haven't even considered it yet. Yeah.
Right.
So does anyone remember where the mayor was on this, on the snowman sculpture stuff? I know he really wanted to do that. But I feel like we haven't,
You haven't talked about it recently, so
so I mean,
follow it up on that one. Yeah, question.
Is there, I had the impression that it's like this, snowman in a box where there's the vendor to go to and the process to do it and all of that. And I've never seen it, but that's the impression that I got.
Yeah.
yeah, so Terry had met with the, this place that makes those things. I don't know if they're fiberglass or whatever they're made out of. And he ended up having this like breakthrough meeting with these people. They're the ones that kind of kicked all this thing off with the Peanuts character. The characters, they had actually met with Charles Schultz before he died and on and on and on. But they also already have a snowman mold. So we wouldn't have to be starting from scratch with that. So we could use whatever the snowman mold is that they have, which would probably affect the price. But then I think you're right, Trudy. It is kind of like, look, so many people have already done this that there's a way to do it. So I think we'd have to just kind of figure out, well, what does the pricing look like on all this? What did we, do you know, Lisa, what we actually got approved in the budget for the commission? Was it
I think
5,000?
Dan told me 7.
7?
Was it 7 or 75? Right around that,
70,
yeah.
7 or 75.
So I wonder if another action item is I can reconnect with Terry on that and just say, hey, do we want to try and get going on this thing this year? Or at least we can, like we said, do some of that foundational work so it's ready. So if we're polling people and they say, yeah, we should do something like that.
Right.
Then you can see you've also got community excitement or interest.
Right. That'd be great.
It is, it's really exciting to see what downtown looks like right now. And when that restaurant comes in, so I think that restaurant will be in before the car show, right? Weren't they talking, gonna be getting going early this year?
I think so.
I don't think they'll be up and running before the car.
You don't
Oh,
think
really?
so?
Okay. But, just having that apartment building done and, the sidewalks around it, what that looks like. And,
And we're gonna redo the parking lot behind the
yeah,
K&J
right.
as well. And we're gonna put some electric car hookups too.
Oh, cool.
Looking at
So I found out that the craft wagon is down at Public Works. He doesn't know what kind of condition it's in. He hasn't had it inspected for a while. But just an FYI, it was used to store pot. Quote unquote. I said,
Did you say pot or pop?
pot. P-O-T. And I said, they grew pot in it? He said, no, it was used to store pot that was seized from a house.
Really? Ask him if there's any left in there. Run down
I'm
there.
gonna say Tom wants to know.
Yeah. To store pot. Oh my gosh.
That's really funny.
That just,
I
that
didn't know
adds
anything to
to,
look there.
it just adds to the magic.
Right?
Craft wagon, this
Literally.
thing, we gotta add some kind of spacey stuff on the outside of that thing. Does it have like wooden wheels? I don't even know how old this thing is. Does it need to be pulled by a horse?
No, I think a pickup truck.
Okay.
So we'd have to have an available truck. We'd have to have employees.
Well, that's another note that we could take is consider volunteers. And could that even be something that's advertised? Do you want to volunteer for the craft wagon, both at the parks and at car shows?
And then we have to, sorry to be negative, but we would have to check on insurance if they're gonna be driving that if they're volunteers.
Oh, sure,
Are
yeah.
are employees covered or Could volunteers be covered or how that works?
That's public works.
Yeah, we can have a part-timer, because they're hired.
Yeah, just all we got, it can't be just to call it down. And look, leave it somewhere. I,
Let's find out.
yeah. Yeah. But these are some good thoughts. I'm thinking of like, just the logistics.
Hmm.
Yeah, that would be a great way to promote the Arts Council, Arts and Culture Commission, yeah.
Right.
If it could be left down there, because then it's not only during the car show that people would see it, but we could get some advertising on it.
Right. I love this whole thing. Way to get us rolling.
Ron's response to your question is, you might be able to stand in there and get high. Sorry.
Okay, all right. They had a lot of weed in there. What
It's-
else did they do?
I've never seen this thing, so I don't really have a sense for what it looks like, but is it the sort of thing that people could stand in, and then it could be in our parade?
Oh, yeah.
One of the
Yes, I think
floats.
it is. My memory of it, it's like a pull behind camper or like a vendor would sell hot dogs out of it or something like that, where the door flaps down and there was like a desk for the children to sit
Exactly,
at.
yes.
Okay. Totally. All right.
That's what I recall too, from my own childhood. with this thing. A thing would fold down and they'd have little chairs and you could go and
Yeah.
do your work right there, and like the teacher person would be on the inside.
Yeah.
All right. We can do that.
I think we just need to commandeer this thing. Do a funky paint job
Oh,
on
wouldn't that be
Uh-huh.
fun?
it. Great.
Get the community involved with that too, yeah.
Exactly. We could have a, paint the craft wagon event.
See what condition it is in first.
Yeah. Well, all that weed is still in there. We can just sell that as a fundraiser. It'll be set.
And sell snacks.
What?
And sell snacks.
And so,
Yeah, afterwards. Yeah.
the two go hand in hand.
Cheetos,
Oh, too funny.
purely for medical purposes.
That's right.
Cool.
Okay, and
Okay.
I can ask Ron about, actually, can ask him right now, about leaving it downtown. And so that-
So as takeaways to think about for the next time, I mean, so we're not just probably brainstorm all night on this thing, but I'm just thinking about certain aspects of this as we move forward. So checking the condition of the thing and
Mhm.
taking care of logistics. And then we'd have to think about what else, what are the major areas? So like staffing of it.
Mhm.
Lisa Wong, do you think we should, present this to the council as a thing? Like we might want to have this thing available at car shows and start working with the parks. Do you think we need approval on this?
I don't think so. We just approved the History Cruisers MOA. I think it would just be a matter of connecting with John Start. Don't you think? Like if staff is available.
Well, we currently don't have staff for it, but I know that, oh, I'm recording myself. To do that. I think the conversation needs to be had as far as what we're gonna do for Parks and Rec coordinating. We eliminated that department, as you know. So we don't have anyone that is specifically handling that. We're still doing the ball fields, and I did that last year as well. And I'll probably be doing that this year. But as far as adding more to it, I'm not sure if he's gonna want to bring back some kind of a park and rec commission or position for that, or what. So I think it's more than just the craft wagon. I think it's all park and rec activities for the city. I know Maplewood abolished their park and rec this year, I heard. So, yeah, but I do agree. I think John Stark would be the one that would make that determination. And then who would, we'll just have to work that out with John.
So John is the new city manager,
Correct.
and we'll have to work that out if we use city employees for staffing.
Correct.
Right. So, and I'm thinking of staffing in kind of a broader sense, like, is that members of this group or other volunteers, people from the Parks and Rec Commission? I mean, it could be anybody.
Yeah.
And what are the rules around that?
Okay.
So if we want to have, because I guess given limitations with city employees, payroll and everything like that, I wouldn't see having city employees being paid hourly to be at the craft wagon at the car show.
Right.
Or probably even at the parks, if we were doing daytime summer things at the parks for kids. Almost just see that all as volunteers.
Okay. Okay. So then that's a completely different story.
Yeah, so that'd be something, we should still talk to John about that as well. And just, what kind of rules do we have around that? What kind of liability do we have around that?
And who would oversee management of
That's
the
right.
coordination and management, because there have to be planned activities,
Yep.
supplies, with a contact.
Yeah,
Like I said, we really don't have a park and rec division. We used to have a director,
right,
and that's been abolished.
I know.
So,
But so kind of just big areas that we need to be thinking about with this would be logistics, staffing and personnel, coordination with council of parks and rec, city manager, and then program, right? So like, what do we want to do?
Right.
That's
Right.
maybe the fun stuff.
Mhm. And yes, and I'm wondering if maybe there's different themes. So it might be a different kind of activity on different days. And maybe we partner with the History Center on one day and it's, history, whatever. And maybe we partner with the fire department and it's something else or whatever.
That's a great idea. Why don't we do this? I think, Carrie, I think you have these categories in here. But I think if we could think about some of these things and maybe try and get some answers before the next time we meet, we can try and flesh this out a little bit further. So major categories that I'm thinking, well, so the first thing I had was condition, or just, the wagon itself. We're going to have to take care of that. But then, so logistics questions, and Lisa, you're already texting Ron about that. How do we get it where we need to get it, that kind of thing. But then staffing and personnel, council and city manager alignment, parks and rec coordination, and then programming. So I'm thinking so we have people, process,
Mhm.
sort of technology stuff.
Mhm.
Anything else, any major areas that we should be thinking about with this thing?
Publicity.
Publicity. Yep, that's a good one. So I'm thinking, especially getting the word out there in the monthly update.
yeah, Carrie is really good. Carrie, our communication specialist is really good with getting things out on internet.
Yeah,
and
she's
She
fantastic.
has that LED sign at the park that she can, send announcements to that as well.
Oh, yeah, right.
So there's a lot of ways to get the word out.
Just think about, what if, early on at the car show, you have this big splash where people are allowed to, I don't know, paint the thing somehow, put paint on their hands and put their handprint on the thing. And then that thing just keeps showing up.
Mhm.
So then you got people walking by and say, hey, that's my thing. I did that thing
Oh,
on the
yeah.
thing, so now you got people kind of invested in it.
Yeah.
And everybody's smoking pot, everybody's happy.
Okay, so we can, probably in the downtown, so just depending on where you want it.
Great, great. And because we meet again in like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, so since we already well
Yeah.
into January. So so that's kind of nice. We'll be able to kind of pick this conversation up again and we find out some more. So Lisa, could you maybe take a way to connect with council on this or the city manager? What would be the best?
I'm gonna have a meeting with the city manager on Friday as well to talk about the ball field use and then
Okay,
just get his thoughts on programming. If we're planning on doing it, because if we are, if he wants to do that, I don't know. I just want to get his thoughts on it because I see a need for it. Not only here, I think volunteers would be great, but I also am not sure that would be 100% reliable.
yeah, we'd have to have some kind of like a coordinator or something.
Yeah.
And again, I don't know that needs to be city staff.
Sure.
It could still be someone who's given the responsibility, whether it's someone from this group or wherever else, to be
Mhm.
coordinator of the thing or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. To be honest, I would love to do this. Start delegating things and I'll work it out with John.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's doable. I think we could get volunteers that would want to do something like this.
Not council, take your turn.
Yeah, right.
Ooh.
So you were referring to during the day for the children's activity?
Oh, for the parks thing, yeah, no, I think you could get volunteers for that.
Yeah, during the day.
Yep, for sure. Like, here's one example. My daughter is into arts. If we said, hey, Ruby, do you want to volunteer to do this twice this summer when you're home from school?
Sure,
She'd be all over it. She would.
yeah, that would be really.
And it's just like, all you gotta do is show up at Casey Park from, 1 to 4. And here's the stuff, and you're gonna, whatever kids show up, you're gonna.
With that being said, I wonder if it would be best to leave it at one location rather than calling it from park to park. I think it would streamline a lot of things.
Yeah.
It would eliminate the need for the volunteers to have to drive it.
So, well, the difference is though,
You're not
It's like-
reaching all the kids.
yeah, because the kids walk to it,
Yeah.
it's in their neighborhood.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But these are all details that we can work all this stuff out. I think we have a major category, so why don't we think of, so we have an agenda item for then next week, because we can continue to flesh this thing out.
Mhm.
Like we want to do with this. Next meeting, sorry, not next week. And then I have an action item to talk with the mayor about the Snowman project and see where he's at with that. Anything else that we want to try and at least get in the works? Do we want to reach out to Love Ice Cream and talk about a mural and
Sure.
get that on the back burner?
Why not?
That'd be great. Yeah.
Yeah.
This group is also looking to hire somebody who is going to make a cross, but it's like a military cross, so it's like boots, rifle, and helmet. I think. But this gentleman will take a chainsaw and like, so that might be something. A collaboration. Think about.
They're gonna do that like at a,
June 14th, I think, 5 days.
oh, are they gonna do it at the Veterans Park? Wow, so it's gonna be like a live
Yeah,
thing,
they're gonna make it at yeah.
and then they're gonna leave the thing there?
They might store it.
Okay, gotcha.
I didn't entirely hear that, something about a chainsaw, and then my ears perked up,
Yeah.
but
Chainsaw art at Veterans Park.
June 14th, Trudy.
Flag
write it
Day.
down.
that sounds cool. I have one more thought, which I think would cost no money and could be a way to get a bunch of people interested. And it also came up when I was talking to the folks at the History Museum, which is a garden tour. And volunteer, they deal with the gardens. There's all we'd really have to do is publicize it and put together a map.
So what is that, Trudy? That's like, here's where you can go and see cool gardens around town.
Yep.
Gotcha.
And
So we're
who was it that you were talking to?
Oh, the people at the History Museum, because they used to sponsor that.
Okay.
Trudy, you have one of those number plaques outside of your house too.
Yep.
Does anything happen with that anymore? I know that's part of this walking history tour of these houses, but I've never heard anything about it outside that some houses have numbers on them.
Every now and then there's this group that comes by that's got, there's this, big map that has all the numbers and you can tell that they're looking at it. But other than that, no, nothing.
Huh.
Yeah.
I think
That's
that's
really,
advertised on our website for the history tour.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Can I ask a clarifying question? Because I think you're moving on to like next steps of like more ideas. So like, what do we want to do? Are we gonna want that to be driven by funding we can secure first, or ideas and then figure out the funding?
I don't know. I guess it could be both.
Mm.
I think that kind of leads us into this other thing of looking at that process that we had started developing, like how do we do this? How does something move through our system? And maybe the first thing that we have now, where we thought it was going to be the rock, maybe it's the craft bike. The idea comes to us, we do some initial planning on that, we start to nail things down. How does it happen? So that's something that we can talk about more. But yeah, I would have to think there will be some things that we have to figure out the money for, and some we put money in it.
Okay, a thought popped into my head. I'm not entirely sure it's appropriate, but my sense is that since we were gifted $7,500 or $7,000 or whatever it is from the city, let's figure out a way to do something with that this year.
Yeah,
So it
absolutely.
looks like we're moving.
Yeah, we gotta spend that money.
Yep.
It won't sit there for next year if we don't. Use it.
Right.
So for sure, yeah.
That doesn't need to be in the minutes.
Do we want to take a look at the process then? So I'm just thinking the craft wagon, we're gonna move forward with that. I'm gonna reach out to Terry about the snowman idea. And then does anyone want to reach out to Johanna at Love Ice Cream? I'm gonna take-
No, go ahead,
Okay.
that's fine.
Yeah.
Terry, if you want to do it as a member of the commission, let's just see what her interest level is, where she's at with that, and say, hey, we want to talk further about, I mean, this is one of the very first ideas that got this whole commission going. and see what her interest level is at, and then maybe we can just start doing some of the groundwork on it. See what we can- I mean, maybe we realize it's not feasible this year. And that's fine, but maybe we say, yeah, we should totally do this and we can get done. It would just be another great addition that a lot of people would see.
Mhm. I just have this image in my head of a triple scoop ice cream cone that sort of looks like a snowman.
Oh, yes.
Is it Johanna?
Susanna.
Susanna. Like a mental block.
So with that being said, do you need to put parameters around what type of art the murals could or should?
Yeah,
Mm.
and I think that's something we have to discuss too.
Because I think if there's any advertising there, that it's
That's right.
considered a sign and then it falls under the sign ordinances and.
Yeah.
But that's down the road, we can see if there's interest there. and get stuff out of it.
Yep.
Something to consider.
Do we want to, so I see that we have some old business, so we have the bylaws and open meeting laws to talk about,
Mm.
as well as code of ethics.
Oh, yes, in our last meeting, I was asked to look and see if we do have a code of ethics, and there was not anything on
Okay.
file that I could find.
Okay, so I'm jumping ahead, but do we want to take some time tonight to again look at our process and see what we have there and see if we can knock out a few more steps? Okay. Do you have that available as well, Lisa? So I'm sure it's in the smart sheet somewhere.
Yeah, it's 4.3.1, I think, the one right above.
Oh. I got too many computers here.
Process. Okay. Made a little progress here. Okay, so we had idea intake phase. Someone presents an idea to the ACC, idea presented to the ACC at a monthly meeting, ACC adds the idea tracker. Foggy glasses. ACC reviewed idea against standard rubric for civic viability, which we do not have that yet. Communicate decision. And then what's down below that, Lisa?
If needed, reach out for more information.
If needed, reach out for more information and then prioritize project. So, okay, and then location analysis, level of pedestrian traffic, visibility and accessibility. None of these are steps. They're just ideas. So I don't think we got to phase 2. So if we were to say, let's take, for example, the craft wagon. Somebody presents an idea to the ACC, so that happened. I don't even remember where that came from. Idea is presented at a monthly meeting. Let's say it was today. We talked about it. ACCI adds the idea to the idea tracker. Was that the sheet we were just looking at? Was that the idea tracker?
I thought there was a separate part. Is there a separate sheet? Yeah, for ideas. Yeah. Trudy, do you recall?
I think the idea, I think we're going to create this thing called the idea tracker, but for right now, that's what we've got. We've got this, list of 2022 ideas.
Like Word document, that's our tracker.
Yep.
We can, so maybe we want to
Oh, yeah.
create a different document for
Yeah.
the tracker.
Sorry.
And then we review the idea against I don't even remember what that was. It
Oh.
sounds fabulous. Standard
sounds
rubric for
fabulous.
civic viability. It also sounds very governmental.
I use this with consulting. It's basically, it's a set of questions that we come up with that help us understand if this is in alignment with our mission and is it worth it?
So, yeah, so it's kind of that checklist.
Mhm,
Does it involve people? Does it,
mhm.
whatever that rubric will look like, I think we're gonna get it. We're gonna check a lot of boxes with the craft wagon at the car show. Communicate decisions. So I think that would be to the idea bringer. So I don't know that we need to communicate this decision to anybody. I think there's communication that also has to happen. But it's not like, hey, we like your idea and we're gonna prioritize it.
Do you want to change that? then?
No, I think it's like communicate these, well, unless we say communicate decision to applicant, presenter, yeah.
Oh.
Mhm.
That way, yeah.
Oh, he wants to done that. Because I was like,
There's a ghost in the machine. It's me.
Wait, you did that?
yeah, I don't have, I don't have the ability, and maybe because you're involved in it, but I don't have the ability.
Oh,
yeah,
Carrie.
You're on view only.
Carries
Oh,
on.
Jerry, you want to just take notes while you're there?
I'm on it.
You're on it, okay.
Oh, because I'm not.
If needed, reach out for more information and prioritize projects. So again, if needed, reach out for more information from applicants, like what the hell is it you're talking about? So this is something that's kind of bubbling up organically from the commission, I think.
Is there any like question around budget? What if they need funds? Or-
Yeah, so it kind of makes me wonder, like, the standard rubric for civic viability, would that include questions about cost?
Mhm. Mhm. I would think so.
Yeah, so I think we're gonna have to come up with, separately from this, we'll have to come up with whatever is in that rubric.
Right. Right. If I can, I have a question about 1.6. I would think if needed, reach out for information that might be from a number of people. Maybe we need to talk with Parks and Rec for that particular project, or maybe we need to, talk with whoever, just to get more information before we can even prioritize it.
Yeah, I know, and that's where I'm wondering, it's communication is just gonna be happening all over, and I think initially the idea is that working with those other commissions and things like that would be things that would be articulated in later phases.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's just, it's
Oh,
it's
right.
gonna be kind of fluid, I think, with the communication, I suppose, but,
Got it.
and it doesn't, it's never gonna go exactly step by step, except like this. This is exactly how it happens.
And we're still in intake. So, yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Were you gonna say something, Lisa?
Oh, I was just wondering if 1.5 and 1.6. Football.
Yeah, that could be.
Mhm.
Do we want to find more information, find out more information before approving it or?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. So, and then these other phase headings were things that I think I stole from somebody else's list. And it doesn't have to be like this. So I wonder, like, what might we do next? I mean, it could be location analysis. Like, where exactly would this be? So maybe the first step is to review or examine the location of the installation or activity for any special needs.
I almost feel like the other headings are part of 1.4, not just that, like what's gonna get the most bang for our buck. So we're gonna look at the location even before we decide on the idea.
Well, let's think, maybe we gotta, I'm gonna ask you to do this, Gary, we do this a lot, so scroll to the right on this whole document. Just, let's like get out of the structure of this and all the words that are there right now. But, yeah, a lot of stuff in there. But if you were to think about, let's use the craft wagon as an example. We want, let's just, for the sake of argument, you talk about it just being at the car show. So what's the storyline? What's the through line of events? You're on the elevator, you got to give a pitch. Here's how this thing goes. So we got to get it. We want to take this craft wagon. We're going to resurrect this thing from the ashes and get all the weed out of it. And we're going to clean this thing up. We're going to advertise that we're going to do this. We're going to have show up at the car show. There's going to be different programming at every car show that we're at, and we're going to be using it to gather information. So that's kind of the story right there. So what do we need to do to make that happen? So is it thinking even back to our directional A3 with the key elements that we need in order to do this stuff? So obviously we have an idea. We have to get permissions. So what if, could you just put on the right hand side in a cell here, Carrie, but just like getting permissions. There's going to be preparing the art or activities. There's going to be finding the people. So the artists and or volunteers. There's going to have to be a determining cost and funding. Yeah. Preparing the location or something like that. So a lot of this is probably the same as some of those headings that were on there, but I'm just trying to think of this through a little bit more organically, like what's going to have to happen. Permits. Would that go under permissions? Permits?
Oh.
Permissions?
Mhm.
What else?
I think we can add that. It's like permission/permits.
And now, if you were going to do this, if you were going to list these things in any type of order, what would it be?
Idea.
And finding the people.
I think the cost.
During class?
Perhaps location. We're thinking applicant might have that
Sure.
in mind.
Yeah.
But if you don't have the people or the artists, the volunteers to do it, well, then any of those other things would be an app.
Well, let's try this on for science. And so I think if we were good to stay with what we've got here, 1, 2, 3, and then I think you would have to do finding the people and then preparing the art and the activities. And then, I missed that one. Getting permission for permits.
That has to be before finding people.
Agreed.
Right.
Yeah. And then finding the people, then preparing the art and activities, and then executing, doing the thing, right?
I think, yeah, location I think is later after permits, right?
Do it.
Sometimes you need permits based on the location.
Right.
Okay,
I think the permits can be kind of happening like throughout, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So what if these were like the major phases? I actually think after do it that there's going to be some sort of post-mortem phase too, or some sort of sustaining phase. Because whether it's caring for some long-term installation or it's,
right,
you know, wrapping up some other type of thing.
right. And related to that, sort of publicity and marketing before, during, and after.
Yes, yes. You know, we. Yeah, we're. Yeah, maybe that's right. Yeah. Right there, tree.
Yep. Yep. And then also in the, you know, sort of the after the do it part where there's the recap and lessons learned.
Yeah. But it's also, it can also be like this kind of maintenance, depending on the thing. Like that.
Yep.
There you go. So how many phases do we have there now? Nine. Okay. So does that seem, do those seem like the right major things that have to happen?
Mhm. Mhm.
I think one thing that may help facilitate this, and ensure that people are filling it out thoroughly is kind of providing some template or
Yeah,
guidance for
Right.
them to, so they're can avoid kind of back and forth.
yeah, and I think that, I wonder if that's not something we should call out a little more explicitly, Lisa, in that first phase. It's, you know, if somebody's coming to us with an idea, say, hey, you can fill out this form here, or you can go to the website and fill out an idea form. It's actually kind of, it can be a good way to get some people off your back too. Because
Mhm.
you're gonna have people, if you're not already, having throwing ideas at you left and right. You should do this, you should do this.
Mhm.
I highly recommend electronic form and
Yeah,
gotten away from all paper forms.
Mm.
okay by me. I know some people get frustrated with computers. So, but-
They do, but then we walk out to the lobby with them and walk them through the process.
Oh, do you? Okay, okay. I'm all in. If you can keep it all electronic. I'm all in.
Mhm.
Be a good thing too on the graphic.
And
Barcode
there-
and or something and pump it out.
Okay.
For their
You can
phone.
create a form right in the smart sheet and then it just
Oh, that'd be great.
populates right there.
I was thinking through our city website though. Yeah. We put the link up there. Yes.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure, that's what I was thinking too.
Mhm.
City website.
So
Right.
let's,
You could have a link.
if we were to think about this, so Carrie, what if you were to put those things as the phase settings back in the work system? We might be one phase short, but we can add one. So
Also in place of that.
if the next one, so let's just say, you know, go back to the, that process map,
Oh, so it's clicking on.
not the smart sheet,
Oh, this.
the
yeah,
age,
area.
yeah, there we go.
There.
So
Okay.
scroll over to phase 2. The other way, sorry. So where it says location analysis, that cell that it's highlighted right now. So that's cell 2.0. You just can't can't see it right now.
Oh,
You scroll over a little bit more. There we go. So phase two, what did we just say that was? Permits and
No.
permissions? No, cost and, right. So let's call this the cost and funding phase. So just. No, you can't. That's fine.
Don't think of just the heading for now.
Just the heading for, okay, I can
Yeah.
live with that. Thank
Well,
you.
you can copy those other ones, put them somewhere else, just so that you keep them. If you want to keep that stuff, but- So this is the determine cost and funding phase. So if we were to, if we're in this phase, what are the things that we would have to do to determine cost and funding? So we started by saying, now we're doing a whole project. What do we do? What are the main things that we have to do a whole project? Now we're zeroing in a little bit closer just on one part of it, determining cost of funding. So what do we have to do for that? Is it like,
Maybe the first part is just identifying the areas that would require expense.
I like it. Identify areas of expense. Because there could be materials, there could be perhaps permits. I don't know if we have to pay the city for permits. City stuff.
Mhm.
There could be,
Labor, if it's
labor, yeah.
artist or somebody to repair the truck.
Yeah, and then I think, so you think about those areas of expense and then think the next step might be determine potential sources for this funding. So it could be, so say it's Susanna at the ice cream shop. She's saying, well, I'll pay $2,000 for the cost of it. Okay, great. So we know that. And we have to figure out what the total expense is, and then we go work back from there.
Mhm.
And so what if 2.2 is identify areas or identify potential funding sources?
Mhm.
Who handles the money?
Mhm.
you want to appoint the treasurer?
Mhm.
Lisa, I was hoping you would just say that.
Yeah, right.
Well, actually, I don't know that it would be on that. Oh, no, because we have money being.
Yeah,
We
how does-
definitely have to have a meeting with our finance director and find out how that's gonna work.
Yeah,
Because we'll probably be getting donations, and I know there's a process and a procedure that has to go to council for approval and how we're gonna get those donations. Maybe we can even have some kind of form on our website for donating to the arts.
well, here is an area too where I think about, some of this communication that has to happen with other people is happening within some of these phases. Like, do we need, so if you have it's a high buck or a low buck project, do we review the cost of the project with the council? Because even if we have $7,500 allocated to this group this year, can we spend $7,500 on finger paints for the crash wagon?
My guess on that, and I'm just going based off of what I've seen in the past, is that, as you know, there's a threshold, is it $20,000, and anything over that needs council approval.
Can't remember.
20 or 25. I know the EDA has its own operating budget. They have a treasurer. I think that's the only commissioner board that has funds allocated.
HRA and.
Oh, the park does, yes, yes. And so, yes, how that is handled through the finance director and, I haven't been, we haven't had any major purchases, but I would assume that the same would hold true with because it's a city policy. Yeah, the purchasing policy.
I wonder if we would review any of these things with the finance director.
Yeah,
And then we had discussed another potential way to get funds is to tack it on to development fees.
Oh, right, yeah.
Mhm.
So that would fall outside of this thing. I think that's kind of bigger or broader than what this process is, but yeah, that would be great. So, Carrie, are you in this document? So 2.3, did you have something like review with finance, project cost with finance director? And then what? What did we do?
It may or may not.
Yeah, so maybe it's like add to council agenda for approval if needed.
Mhm.
well, as far as reviewing with the finance director, I thought that would just be a one-time meeting. I don't know that we have.
Yeah,
to
I don't-
review with them on every
And I
project.
don't know either, so I don't know if it's something like, hey, do we just want to get some guidance, depending on what the thing is. There are many steps in this process could be as needed, depending on what the thing is, right?
Mhm.
And it could be, we want to review it with the city manager if it's a
Yeah.
big thing. That would probably happen before it gets added to, before 2.3.
And if we had a list of questions for Dan, as finance director, that might be the best way to move this along quickly, because send them an email and get a response immediately. Bring that information back for our next meeting.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure if we're there yet. I have to list the questions, but maybe.
Mhm.
What about, what if we hold this for a minute? So we've got a few things on there that we're thinking about with the cost of funding. Some of this, we may just have to experience it once to see what happens, and we'll document that. What was the third thing we had on your sheet one, Carrie? Okay, so what if we went back to this work system? Now, phase 3 is preparing the location. Okay. So what would we need to do there if there were actual steps?
Mhm.
I think about like the craft wagon. Do we want to go down to 7th Street, 7th Avenue and say, hey, where do we think would be the best spot to park this thing?
Mm.
Park it all over, depending on
Mhm.
the week, the month, or whatever. And I think there has to be something like, go to the place and look at it.
Mhm.
It's like,
Well, last year there was that old antique car and like the gas pumps
Oh,
on
yeah,
that
yeah,
city
yeah.
owned property, and that is owned by the city. So that might be a potential.
as a location.
Yeah.
Site visit and assessment of location, right? So is this the right spot? Does it look right? Then what? Ensuring visibility and accessibility. So I mean, we want to put a verb in here, so it's an actual step. Ensure.
Mhm.
And then if we wanted to enhance the public environment, I think it would be something like evaluate potential to enhance the public environment.
Hmm.
Create a place of congregation. We don't have to keep any of this stuff. This is all just stolen. I think if it's an activity like this, it's ensuring availability and when needed.
Or even accessibility.
Yeah, we have accessibility on 3.2.
We do. Oh, we do. Okay, sorry.
I'm thinking availability.
Mm.
So like making sure that we have a spot that's always available. You know, somebody else might be saying, well, we want to use that spot for something else.
Right.
And then with the parks, you know, if we're doing weekday things in the summer at the parks, ensuring that we're working out. Should we have a step about communicating with the other commissions here as needed? So if it's parks or public works or history is a commission, but communicating with other organizations, whether within or outside of the city. That's not that's yeah. And what if we were to say, instead of communicate there, Carrie, what if it said align with?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
More collaborative. Okay. What was the fourth thing that we had? On sheet one.
Commission permits.
Oh. What, did you already put them all in there? Oh, so you already did that. Okay. So what would we do here? So I mean, I think some of this we already took down as lists of action items, right?
Mm-hmm.
Talk to the city manager, talk to, you know, review with council, review with public works.
And all of that is part of the workflow that's already built into our website, or not our website, but OpenGov, which is the platform that we use
Yeah.
for permits.
Oh,
And as far as, there is a fee associated with permits, but what we've done for city projects is it goes through the workflow just so nothing gets missed, but then
Yeah.
we waive the fee.
What was that?
For me, oh, OpenGov.
oh, yeah, that's the new software.
Mhm. Yes.
Cool.
Yeah, it would seem like that would have to be it. I mean, it's a city thing.
So that, I can tell you that the review with Public Works is part of that process, and then the review with City Council is also part of the OpenGov process, so you can eliminate both of those.
And it's almost like you could just follow the open gov process.
Yep, so we'd have to just talk to the city manager and then submit the permit application.
Mhm.
I'm wondering if, in addition to submitting the permit application, you know, do we want to have a conversation just so it's not catching them by surprise? So that when they see it going through this process, they go, oh, yeah, that's the one. We had that conversation about it. We're totally in favor.
With the council, did you say, Trudy?
Yeah, with whoever it might be a sticky point. I don't, you know, and I'm not sure who that would be. It's just so that there's no surprises, so that they've already heard about it and
That
it's
would
just rubber stamp.
Yeah,
It would be, okay,
so,
that's good.
so we could put that council liaison reviews with council. Or updates council or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, that's true. That would happen anyway.
When they're ready.
That's how grease the wheels a little bit, so.
Yeah.
Hey, yeah, here's what's happening with this commission.
Mm-hmm.
So that is city permission. What about? Well, no, because all of our art would be on city property.
Yeah, so I'm
Or
thinking, who else do we need? for-
public. Private.
Unless we decide to bring a giant rock.
Yeah,
up here,
yeah.
Then.
Yeah.
it sounds like there's a little bit more involved.
Yeah.
So talk to the DNR,
And,
and federal government.
Mm.
Okay, well,
Let's
it's,
just build one on a concrete.
yeah. So it's 8 o'clock, and we're making some progress here. I do think this is we're giving it, being yeoman's work here to try and struggle through this, because we haven't done it before, so I think we'll learn a lot from doing something.
Yeah.
But are you okay if we kind of leave it here for this month or this week, and then we'll come back later and try and keep plugging through this, and we'll be learning as we go with our craft wagon project. So if everybody's okay with that, then we'll move on from item 7 on the commission business action items. We'll move to item 8 on old business. So we had some attorney revised bylaws
Oh, yeah.
that you can share with us on the screen, Lisa.
Yes, I should be able to.
I'm really excited about the craft wagon.
Me too.
I can't see what it looks like.
I don't like using them. on computer. I just see that. Thought I had that up before with our, works with our agenda.
You did this 2 tabs over. Yeah, or it's in the packet that it's.
Yep, and so that's why I want to try to get to the packet. You
The
said 2
file?
tabs over, right there,
To what?
right there, that's what I need. Okay, thank you. No, I knew I had it open, I just didn't see it. Okay, so this is the draft that Trudy provided. And then I also included in the packet the red line from the attorney, which is what we'll look at now.
Oh,
So they just wanna eliminate that. Let me know when I can go.
is that, okay, so I'm scrolling down in the packet. I didn't notice any red lines, so help me understand where to look.
Section 2, membership.
Yeah, there's 2 versions of the draft. One was what you proposed, and the second one is what the attorney came back with. Page
Okay, so
13.
another, oh, got it. I didn't scroll down that far. Got it. Okay. Okay.
They changed the wording there.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Logistical issue with the staggered terms because
Right.
Yeah.
at the same time.
It's like just kind of a language.
Yeah.
At the same time. Oh, I see.
You're saying it's not the option under the open meeting.
So. Well, I guess that makes sense. I was thinking about, so taking action versus, doing homework or something, right? So like, like Trudy could work on
Oh,
a form outside of the meeting and bring it back for
Yeah.
everybody to look at. She's not actually taking action, right? On behalf of the group would still have to. Some of those things are just tools, they're not.
What number are you on?
We're on item E under section 6.
Okay.
Is that what was your thinking behind that, or do you know is that kind of boilerplate stuff?
Item E on section 6. Oh, okay. So, and I get it. So you said it's not an option under open meeting law, that whole thing, which, yep. Okay. Got it. We can't do it. So what I do in Humanities Commission that I'm on is it's not public meetings. So, we could have a vote where they just send out the email and then you get, vote
Right.
by a certain time, but I get it. You can't do that here.
That's right. Yeah. Investigation. Will there really be an investigation?
Because this is not highlighted, this came directly out of something that the city wrote.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I don't know. I just copied and pasted.
I don't know, I suppose.
Soren checking himself.
Those hearings receives. Dr. Message. I don't know, I suppose we couldn't it be?
We could just like visit a space beam investigation.
Well, I'm thinking of it more like,
Inquiry.
what if something went sideways with
Yeah.
one of these art installations or something?
Sure.
Or an art activity, and we had to investigate what happened.
Right. Or it could even be as simple as doing our due diligence that we were just talking about related to any project that we undertake, and we're investigating to to learn more so that we can decide whether or not we can do it. I don't know.
Oh, this came up, a resident of the community sent a letter to the city attorney regarding this. And I believe you were gonna talk about that during the commissioners meeting, Lisa, or not but the reports from council liaison. So this person thinks there needs to be consistency through all of the different commissions
Oh,
in
I
the city.
Yeah.
So
So I would hold off on that for now because the new city manager is hoping to have all the chairs come together from each commission, so that they kind of run through things. I think that would be a perfect time to address that.
I see what he's saying, though, that's fine. I mean, if we're only gonna review it annually.
Mhm.
period, I guess.
ready?
Ethics. What is it?
Oh, yeah, so we don't have a code of ethics.
Okay.
She works with Soren
Okay.
Maddox, so these are the two attorneys that commented. Yeah, and like I said, there wasn't anything I could find for the city code of ethics. So we can probably just eliminate that.
Okay.
So is the non-yellow highlighted section the language that LK put in there as a brief?
No, I think the highlighted is what Trudy added from another source that wasn't in the cities. Is that correct, Trudy?
That's correct, because we didn't have there wasn't anything about conflict of interest, so I put in the yellow part, and then I think the blue part is what the lawyer put in.
Okay.
And I'm totally, they're simplifying the heck out of it, which is fine with me. It's recommended that we avoid even the appearance of any guy refraining from things. There's a question.
Okay.
Rather than every commissioner having on an annual basis for written disclosure.
Okay.
Anybody else? I'm okay with that. I mean, it really simplifies it. It doesn't say that,
Right.
you know, it almost kind of gives you what the last sentence of the yellow highlighted part is. Policy is meant to supplement good judgment. Commission members are asked to respect its spirit as well as
Right.
So then, Trudy, you have the working document on this. Is that something that you are able to update with these red line?
Oh, yeah,
Okay,
yeah. And I think it's just in the it's also in the smart sheet as well as a Word document. But yes, absolutely. Happy to.
so the implication, so. I know that was brought up, and I contacted.
Yes, so Lisa, didn't the League of Minnesota Cities say that basically we're covered?
Yes, yes, under. Commission.
Yeah.
The question.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. That wasn't much. That's good.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Right? So, and then at the end, these were notes when we were talking about the open meeting law, so that's included. This is just another part of the packet.
Okay.
I think it's crazy. You know, they should bring it back or something. you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Be a little
Especially.
more flexible.
Yes.
Mhm. So is that a state thing?
Yes.
Wow, that's nuts. Well, anyhow, okay.
Okay.
Hmm.
Good with the bylaws? Good with there? Open meeting laws, so did we just kind of cover that right here, but any
Yeah.
other concerns or thoughts about the open meeting law stuff? Or not, attending via Zoom, basically?
Yeah, so.
Is that, we're just back
interactive or
to
other
the
technology.
requirement that if you are attending remotely, you have to be in a
Public setting,
space.
and it has to be on the agenda when it's posted to the
Yeah.
public of where you're gonna be attending from.
Wow.
So that just is the back here with, can't vote on any items from their home, so if you had, well, I don't wanna say commissioner, someone on the EDA that couldn't make it to the meeting, he participated, but his participation was basically as someone from the public,
Good
without, correct, so. really participating.
Yeah, it seems, especially if everything, over the last couple of years, this seems like just antiquated
Right,
law.
right, yeah. And then here, this is what we did tonight with the votes, being
Yeah.
conducted via roll call if you are attending by Zoom. And that's it for the open
Thanks for looking into that, Lisa.
From the report from staff, as I mentioned, I was asked to look for the code of ethics and nothing on file, so.
Okay. So reports from commissioners, let's go around the horn. Stacy, do you have anything?
I have nothing.
Nothing to report? Jerry? Trudy, do you have anything to report?
Nothing other than my nice visit with the History Museum folks.
Okay. When are you back in town?
After the next meeting. So whenever that next meeting is, it's the weekend after that we're driving back.
I see, okay. And
So you'll be participating from the same location next month?
I will be. Oh, yeah, actually, there is one other thing that I could talk about. I've started to look at, there was a resilient communities project that was a while, long before I knew about this, 2013 and 14, and they had a public art plank for what they were doing. And so I know where this is now, and I was going to take a look at what they came up with. I'm just trying to understand what's been done before.
Yes. I'm not sure where we're at with that resilience project. Disregard my comment. I've been doing research on a lot of the different commission, I don't want to say commissions, but we had a lot of different plans that were started, and some of them were implemented and some of them were not. I'm just not sure where we're at with a lot of these things over the last 2 years. What's happened.
Okay.
And I think that resilient or the resilient living streets or something like that was another one. Streets. Yeah, that one I think is still viable.
so it's only as viable as the council is willing to vote.
Yes.
You can put all the wonderful things you want to plan. Yeah, I don't. Reports from myself, I would just say I appreciate everyone's flexibility and having this meeting later so I could be here. Clue opened last week. It felt like a miracle. We got back from our Christmas break. We had 10 days off over Christmas. When we came back, there were 3 people out with COVID. And 2 key cast members in a really critical week of rehearsal, so it's hard to be that. And then when we got them back, we had 3 crew members out for 5 days. So it's just, I didn't think we'd have a single performance of the show, but we got to, perfectly on opening weekend. So we're a third of the way done. We'll see what happens when we show up at the theater on Friday if we do another show. So it's always up in the air, there's only so many roles you can understudy in that thing. So, but appreciate everybody's flexibility. And Stacy, sorry that you were sick. Hopefully everyone can stay healthy as we keep going here. But that's all I have. So, Councilmember Wong, any reports from you as council liaison?
We talked about the Veterans Freedom Rock. After the meeting of the chairs.
When do you think the meeting of the chairs might take place?
I can ask.
Oh,
John
Yeah.
Stark is planning on coming to one of our meetings here, so.
okay.
I know
We
he
have a
mentioned
retreat.
that Soren is out and he'd like to have it when Soren is available. So I thought he said in February.
And then, just so you know, the planning commission is looking at. So I don't know if that's something. Just so you know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
we didn't talk about the design, that was gonna be left to the businesses, right?
You mean,
No, where we're at with that, I think in the original downtown revitalization plan, there was going to be outdoor seating and it was
Oh, okay.
built-in outdoor seating. Well, through the process that got eliminated.
oh,
And now it will be up to the business owners if they want to have outdoor seating to purchase furniture for that. So it'll be their responsibility to purchase it, to maintain it, to store it and everything else. But
Oh, I see.
the planning commission, who assumed the role of the design review commission, will be looking at design standards.
so nobody can, like, Polar Lounge can't just put a bunch of cheap plastic chairs out there. for
That's
parking.
the intent, yeah.
Got
That's
it.
the intent.
Good.
Yeah.
Al Worm retired.
I'll learn, yeah, so we have an opening on the planning commission, so if you know anyone. Apply, please do.
It was Alan's recommendation that they get someone from the business association off this spot, but I don't know if anybody has applied for that. but That was his last words.
His last words on the planning.
On the planning commission.
Not his last.
Correct.
Someone from the business.
I love it. Okay, anything else, Lisa?
I don't think so.
Lisa Ritchie, anything else? Okay, we covered everything. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Judy?
I.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy snowy North Carolina.
Who would
Okay,
think that
see
we
ya.
were getting snow? Bye now.
I.
I think the high school's gonna go back to in person.